We're gonna jump into our lead story. This is about J.K. Rowling, obviously in wake of recent events, Charlie Kirk's assassination. J.K. Rowling is one of many other high-profile public figures that is now being targeted with threats online, specifically on Blue Sky. I am not on Blue Sky. I would never make an account on Blue Sky, but from what I've heard, the usual suspect over on that platform is a deranged leftist, and they are saying deranged leftist things. Doesn't really surprise me. J.K. Rowling gets death threats every day of her life and will for the rest of her life, but it's really at a fever pitch right now after they feel so emboldened by the disgusting violence that we saw on Wednesday. And Andrew Tate actually tweeted about this. He kind of predicted it's not only Charlie, there's a list. They're coming for the rest of us. And while that may sound a little bit dramatic, we don't know what the future holds. And from these screenshots I'm looking at from Blue Sky, people with a hammer and sickle in their username or a trans flag in their username, they feel incredibly confident, like so bold, just outwardly saying, so-and-so next, please, so-and-so next. J.K. Rowling is one of those people repeatedly they're calling for her to be hurt or killed in these posts. And I don't even really want to pull them up on screen because I don't want us to get in trouble. But I know a lot of people are working overtime right now to collect the digital evidence of these posts and send them in a tip line to the FBI, which you absolutely should continue doing. And all of these people should have their lives ruined. And I mean, I don't think that means we don't believe in forgiveness anymore. It just means that they need consequences. But yeah, J.K. Rowling is predictably one of the biggest targets for them, specifically because of the interest and stance that she's taken on the issue of transgenderism and the policy making around it. She was one of the people pushing for the Supreme Court ruling in the UK that defined biological sex. And they blame her for a lot of this. But really, she's very moderate, as was Charlie Kirk. That's what a lot of people are pointing out. But like you said, Tate, they're not going for the radicals. They are most interested in instilling fear in people who are able to shift the mainstream. And J.K. Rowling has definitely been effective at that. Mm-hmm. So I hope that she's on watch for her safety.
I've been thinking about risk mitigation. Like, don't take unnecessary risk. If you're a public figure, especially if you're involved in politics, don't take unnecessary risk. Don't, like JFK, that they figured out in 62 or whenever he was killed, 63 or something. Don't parade your president around out in the open with his head sticking up because it's easy. And like Charlie on Wednesday, he was in an event with open air with buildings across the thing and a rifle. And so risk mitigation. But then there's the issue of paranoia. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Some people are paranoid, some aren't. Some people are trusting, some aren't. Like, you don't have to be one or the other. Sometimes you can have neither trait. But paranoia is interesting. Where like, they're all coming for all of us. Like that mindset. I don't personally have it. I'm not paranoid. I'm not really trusting either. I guess I lean more towards trusting. But risk mitigation and being intelligent about how you move forward is super important. Like in a military command, we got to kind of think of this as a sort of, the art of war, even though it's not a domestic war, there's the art of war still plays out, how you behave, how you cede territory to reposition, to take the high ground until it's, things like that.
Prudence and pragmatism, I think, need to trump emotion right now. But at the same time, like you're saying, I mean, we can't just not show up to these events anymore. I mean,
yeah, we can't completely back down out of public life.
That's sort of what he wants. That's what the shooter wants is. And
all the people celebrating it want that.
Yeah, they would love nothing more than for us to retreat and hide and whatnot. So, but as you're saying as well, I mean, you can't take any unnecessary risks. I think a lot of people, a lot of security teams, it just gives them something else to think about. It's really unfortunate that this is what it's taken, but you just didn't know.
Yeah, some risk you have to take to accomplish the goal, right. Especially if you're talking military terms. To take the hill, there's massive risk involved, and in like civil society, some things you got to do or you believe you must do involve a certain level of risk, and then you got to be like, it's necessary in that case.
Yeah, and if someone else would have went down, God forbid, Kirk would have been probably one of the first people that would have appeared in public again. It's just completely tracks with this character. He was I'm not saying people are, because I think people that are not wanting to do live events right now totally makes sense. I'm not suggesting whatsoever there's any like cowardice or anything, because like I said
Yeah.
before, prudence and pragmatism is the priority right now. But Kirk would have for sure been one of the first guys back out there.
I got this game called Crusader Kings that I'll play sometimes, and in it you're like a king in the Middle Ages or whoever you want to be, and they'll be like, "My lord, we found a plot to kill you," and you'll be like, "Oh!" And one of the things you can do is go into hiding, and then you can just live in hiding. Your diplomacy goes way down while you're in hiding because you can't get people to know where you are. But for that time, they're able to try and find out what's going on and take out the killer if there's someone trying to find you. So going into hiding is like, I don't want to do it personally. But I don't go out a lot. I don't do a lot of public events anyway, so it wouldn't be a big change for me to work from home, to work from the studio.
Well, that's the sentiment. Like, I had a friend, as this story was breaking, he texted me, he's like, man, I really just would like to just go into the woods and camp out and just be there forever and remove myself.
I just want to grill.
Yeah, and the whole group chat jumped on him because they're saying and as Matt Walsh was saying yesterday, the left wants nothing more than for you to be removed from the fight. Like, Matt Walsh, I think, said verbatim, like, your enemy should celebrate when you leave the ring. That, like, you should be that much of a force, that much of a dynamo. And so yeah, I think they would love nothing more for us all to just retreat into the woods and, you know, have our great base life, but away from where the vectors of power are and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, earlier today, as you guys probably already know, they did announce that they had the suspect already in custody, and we're grateful to learn that. However, that is far from the end of the threats that public figures face, evidently, and the discourse that we're seeing, and I'm not going to like show the videos, the TikToks. I'm just seeing mainstream influencers just outwardly celebrating, ridiculing. At the very least, like, the moderate ones are just point scoring off of it, saying, you know, it's because of the rhetoric that he was spreading or the policies he supported. That's just the mainstream take from the left right now, let alone what people feel confident enough to say behind a profile picture. And I tweeted earlier that touching grass is not stellar advice in a time where we're all realizing, not all of us, I'm not, but many are realizing that their own family members, real life friends, real life coworkers, and acquaintances are not on the same page with them on the most basic of moral questions. And is murder okay? That's an extremely foundation rattling thing to go through. And just saying get off your phone and touch grass and spend time with your family, it's not actually great advice, as people are realizing that they don't even have that little in common with their own flesh and blood family members or their own closest friends.
I called my dad because he was like a Democrat. He didn't like Trump. And so I called him today. I called him yesterday. He called me back this morning. And I was like, you know, my friend got killed. And I told him, he was like, oh, yeah, I heard. And I asked him, like, what? Or he's like, you know, when I first saw that, I thought, well, he was friends with the evil one. So, and then he immediately was like, what the fuck am I? What? And then he just got very somber and he said he started praying for the guy. For Charlie. And that, I think he's probably not alone in that shocking. He had the narrative, Trump's evil, therefore everyone around him has it coming, or whatever his thoughts were, and then immediately shifted, the humanity kicked in and he realized, like, what have I become? So in that case, I'm glad I called him, because the people close to you, it is important, like, now, like, just make sure you're all on the same page, that you kind of know, like, it's not cool to do that kind of thing.
People are coming to these realizations. Thank you. Too late in a way, but also just in the right timing. Thank you.
Say it loud.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love the enthusiasm. Yeah, and it would have taken a lot of people many more years, if not ever, to come to the realizations that they are now. And I also was about to address this on the show yesterday, I think, when the stream went out momentarily. There is this writer for DC Comics that came out and celebrated and mocked the death of Charlie Kirk, whose name is Gretchen Felker Martin. This is a male who identifies as a female and is the author of a comic book called Red Hood. And DC actually dropped it. They decided to cancel orders for this comic book series after the writer was cheering this on. And you should take a look at this person. This is who we're talking about. This is the average.
Wazowski.
Yeah.
She literally looks like the lady, the Mike Wazowski lady.
That's
I mean, even that's like more of a
dead
compliment than he deserves.
At least she had some dignity to her.
oh man.
Yeah. This is who we're talking about. Like this, just really let that face like sink in and burn into your neurons.
I keep thinking of his stomach. Like, what's in his stomach?
The ugliness inside is reflected on the outside.
Real.
And for context, we have actually discussed this individual on the show in the past, not that long ago. In October of 2024, it was announced that one of the Wachowski brothers turned sisters, Lily Wachowski, picked up Gretchen Felker's novel called Manhunt to develop it into a TV show. And this is basically a very thinly veiled fan fiction about a homicidal fantasy against J.K. Rowling. That's what Manhunt is. The cover art for it is, I believe, it's like a couple of apples or peaches or something in a net made to resemble a ball sack.
Right.
And the premise of the story is that testosterone hacks the brains of the male population, and the women have to go into hiding in this tribalistic survival mode. J.K. Rowling is a fictional character in this story. It's very thinly veiled. And she has her castle in Scotland. She actually does live in a castle in real life. And there is a scene where she's violently captured and then burnt alive, burnt at the stake in this story. So now this has been picked up to get developed into a TV series by Lily Wachowski, formerly of the Wachowski brothers behind The Matrix, who then ended up ruining The Matrix for everyone. But this novel came out back in 2022, complete with a cover alluding to the recurring plot lines, the need for its trans female characters to hunt feral men for their testicles, lest they suffer a horrifying fate. Its blend of emotional subtleties and overt horror as metaphor grotesqueries drew immediate strong reviews. What it did not do was kick off the usual wave of adaptation plans in TV and film, presumably because the book's deliberately messy messages surrounding gender identity and the bit where a group of fascist, trans-exclusionary radical feminists get dubbed, quote, the Knights of J.K. Rowling. It was a bit spicy for Hollywood to comfortably digest. Cut to today, when a new interview with Matrix co-creator Lily Wachowski, this was back in October. Besides being a fascinating conversation, the interview ends with Wachowski revealing that she's currently in the works on adaptations of a couple different trans books, including Jordy Rosenberg's Confessions of the Fox. I don't have any context on that one. And Manhunt. Gretchen Felker Martin hopped on social media to confirm the news, writing, quote, I'm adapting Manhunt for TV with Lily Wachowski, and I couldn't be prouder and more excited to be writing it. We're going to do our damnedest to bring this thing kicking, screaming, and queer as hell onto the screen. It's not clear yet what capacity Wachowski will fill in the project. In her last two shows, Netflix's Sense8 and the far more down-to-earth Work in Progress, she went the multi-hyphenate route, writing and directing. Never directly tackled horror, which Manhunt, taking place in the world where high testosterone turns people into feral beasts, who exist only to consume flesh and rape, traffics in pretty heavily. So the premise goes that the only normal people left are men who are taking estrogen and women, actual women, who are surviving in this world where all of the men have had their brains hacked by testosterone. It's like a brainworm, a parasite.
Today on Culture, where we're talking about Hollywood, because that term Hollywood, the wood from the holly tree, was what witches used in the Middle Ages to cast spells.
No way.
Yeah, the holly tree. You can even
No
look it up.
way.
Yes.
No way.
That's why they call it the holly.
What?
There's no holly in that area. Oh. Yeah, the Hollywood is the wood that the witches would use, or the magic users would use. I'm not sure if they were all witches or not.
I don't know whether to believe you though.
Check it out. Alex Stein said it.
You also shared
Tim
your theory about where the myth of like Santa Claus came from.
The Siberian.
I remember when we had that discussion, a lot of people were saying you were off base. So I don't know.
This is from Alex Stein's mouth, and then Tim looked it up live and was like, "Oh, he's right. The Hollywood was the wood that they would use for magical."
I thought the movie entertainment industry just ended up there because of like proximity to where
they also fled
the etymology
mafia.
Is interesting.
Yes, why they called it Hollywood. They
so
went to that area.
There.
No, they went to that area to escape the mafia because of bright sunlight all day. You have good lighting on your movies all day. It's always it's going to be nice tomorrow to shoot outside. But they called it Hollywood because they cast spells. Your words.
While a popular legend suggests that the name came from the abundance of toyon shrubs, also known as California holly, growing in the area, which resemble holly trees and bear red berries, this is considered a romanticized explanation. The toyon plant has been native to Southern California for thousands of years and was used by indigenous peoples, but the name Hollywood was not derived from it, according to some. Another legend claims that the name came from a man hauling wood, whose name sounded like Hollywood, to real estate developer H.J. Whitley, but this is not supported by verifiable evidence. The name was later popularized by the construction of the Hollywoodland sign in 1923, originally a real estate advertisement. The sign was repaired in 1949 to read Hollywood after the H fell over. The area was incorporated as a municipality in 1903 and became part of Los Angeles in 1910. The name Hollywood then was synonymous with the American film industry.
There's a quote here. Data Wilcox, who donated land to help in the development of Hollywood, is quoted as saying, "I chose the name Hollywood simply because it sounds nice and because I'm superstitious and Holly brings good luck."
Oh, so it does have something to do with it.
So it actually is. There actually is like a... Who knows where her head's at, but...
Yeah, I looked up Hollywood magic. It says Hollywood's a long-standing reputation in magical and spiritual traditions. The wood from the holly has in magical and spiritual traditions was potent, protective, and empowering properties. So Alex Stein brought it up on the show. Tim fact-checked it and was like, okay, sounds about right.
Holly around Christmas.
And the reason
good luck to your house. That's a thing.
Yeah, that's true too. You kiss on... No, that's mistletoe. I brought it up because it came up because... I was talking about spell casting, spells, and you spell words, and the power of mass media now that everyone has access to the ability to amplify their voice, which actually cymatically changes the shape of reality. The vibration will alter the shape of things. So these people are casting with their magic movies. They're casting mind spells on people. And it's like, at what point... I'm all about open free speech and letting you, if you want to burn an effigy of someone, go for it. If you want to make a movie about burning an effigy, it's almost like... at what point does the morality police be like, you can't make a movie about that? I mean, we have ratings, but
I think a lot of people are shifting away from free speech absolutism at the moment, and they have been for a while, and thinking about reintroducing the concept of obscenity laws. And I would be personally in favor of that. But in terms of this show that we're talking about, Manhunt, I do consider it at least a step toward a just full-on overt incitement to violence against a real individual, J.K. Rowling, that is. And it's interesting that I don't even know if I should say credit where it's due to DC Comics for issuing that consequence to Gretchen Felker Martin, canceling the orders of this series, because that's just the bare minimum that it's not even really something I'm going to be like clapping like a seal for that. Like, okay, this person mocked the death of an innocent man, is basically calling for the death of an innocent woman for their ideas, and yet still gets work in the mainstream. And hopefully we're approaching a time where that's not going to happen anymore, just by way of freedom of association, right? We have a 20 from Rusty Shackelford. Ian was made for PCC. Welcome to the show, brother. Glad you're a host and not a story about naked yoga.
Oh, you like that one?
We're all glad that you took the route that you eventually took instead of naked yoga.
I'm glad.
We're
too.
glad that you're here.
Yeah, me too. It worked out really well.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, go follow your belief. Go that route. It's better than working for something you hate, at least in the long term. I think there might be a sociological course correction of some sort with free speech, because now that everyone has access, and hyperbolically everyone has access to the amplification of media, that you can cast your spells to everyone on Earth. A kid, a 13-year-old, can say anything, and like, I don't know about using law to do it, but like you mentioned the humiliation that comes, or like the social consequence of losing a job because somebody took something too far. That's
right, and that is shifting. And I have seen just today people trending the hashtag abolish the first, and also the hashtag pick up the mic. So I think that what people are shifting toward is more speech for us, less for them.
Yeah.
Not necessarily through legal means, but just in sheer numbers, people speaking out.
I think we're entering, because America derives its heritage from England. There's no question about that. I mean, there's a great book, Albion Seed, that walks you through how like the different settlement patterns coming from which part of England dictated early American culture. There's a lot of great books about how the American Civil War is just an extension of the English Civil War, which makes a lot of sense if you read Albion Seed. And then beyond that, I think we're entering sort of the Cromwellian period, where we're going to need a Lord Protectorate to sort of reestablish order, so that we can return back to, our founding principles. Because I think right now, it certainly feels like we're post-Constitution. It feels like the Constitution is just not being interpreted at all how our founders would have viewed things. Like you were saying, we had blasphemy laws on the books early on. Like, was like 9 of the 12.
Not as long ago as people think.
Yeah, like well into the 19th century, and then even into the 20th century, you had some certain obscenity laws.
Yes, yeah.
Infamous
We went from
1970s.
You can't even depict a married couple on TV in their bedroom with the implication that they sleep in the same bed.
Right.
To this.
So I think we're heading into a period where Americans are going to seek, it's not going to be this title, but sort of a Cromwellian figure, a Lord Protectorate, to sort of reestablish.
What did Cromwell do?
He felt that the crown had just were functionally dictators, and he wanted to return power back to the people. And so, it's a long that Cromwellian period is like, there's a lot of history there, but effectively he created the modern parliamentary system as we know it. You
said like post-constitutional era, and I understand what you're saying, because the American Constitution, basically the word Constitution is like the health of a system. In Dungeons and Dragons, if you ever play, your third stat is your Constitution. How high is your Constitution? If it's high, you get a bonus to your hit points. You can resist disease easier. You can get poisoned. You can heal poison quicker because you have a good hardy Constitution. And what's happening is, now that we're in the digital age, we need a digital Constitution, and that needs to be written into the software code of the systems we use, so that they don't censor us and move our thoughts and like show us this thing because it wants to manipulate. You need a Constitution for this, but it needs to be built into the software systems themselves.
Well, we're even seeing the implementation of things like that in the EU and in Australia, and it's not going so well.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media, and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.